Back by popular demand, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly balance your gimbal. We are going to be using the Zhiyun Crane 3S. Now don't worry if you have a different gimbal, this video will still apply to you. Before we get started, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe with those notifications turned on because I have a ton more gimbal tutorials coming your way. Alright, let's get started. On a gimbal, we are working with three different axes. We have the pan, the roll, and the tilt. Start off by removing the camera's quick release plate. Loosen up the tensioner and press the safety release button to release the quick release plate. Now attach the quick release plate to your camera. Make sure it's good and tight. Now slide on your camera to the quick release system. Double check to make sure that it's secured. We will start off by working with the pitch or tilt axis. Unlock the axis lock. A balanced gimbal should not have any issues with the camera flopping forward or backward. It should always remain center, and it should stay that way even when your hand is not on it. If your camera is flopping forward, that means it's way too front heavy. You can counteract this by loosening up the quick release plate and then pushing it back. This will add more weight to the back of your camera. Once your camera remains centered and doesn't flop forward or backwards, you can tighten up the quick release tensioner. On the pitch or tilt axis, there are two forms of balance. Now that we properly adjusted the quick release plate, there is another adjustment that we must make that will keep the camera up without flopping forward. Loosen up the tensioner for this adjustment here. Then you'll notice how the whole quick release system will move up and down. Adjust this accordingly to make sure that the camera will not flop forward or backward. This is a trial and error process. Simply press the bottom of the quick release system up or down. You should be able to let go of your camera and it should not flop forward or backwards. As you can see here, it remains upright. Once this is balanced, you can tighten up the tensioner so it will no longer move. After this adjustment, you may have to readjust the quick release plate to get a more perfect balance. Always use two hands to make micro or subtle adjustments. Now let's move on to the roll axis. Unlock the axis lock. Similar to the tilt axis, the roll axis should remain centered and shouldn't flop to the left or to the right side. Loosen up the tensioner and make the according adjustments. Push the adjustment arm to the left or to the right. Remember, you don't want the camera to flop either to the left or to the right. It should remain center. Once it's balanced, you will know it will not want to flop over. Then you can tighten up the tensioner. Lastly, we must balance the pan axis. Remember to loosen up the axis lock. To test the balance of this axis, slightly pick up your gimbal and lean it over to the side. It should not be swinging around. Loosen up the tensioner and push the adjustment arm either forward or backward. Again, this is a trial and error process. Eventually, you will get it right. When finished, you should be able to pick up your gimbal, lean it over, and it will not swing around. Don't forget to tighten up the pan axis tensioner when done. Now let's test out the gimbal to make sure that it works properly. Turn on your gimbal by holding down the power button. Then try out different shooting modes, such as vortex mode and POV mode. If the gimbal does these moves seamlessly, then you have a properly balanced gimbal. People usually forget to balance their pan axis. With an improperly balanced pan axis, these moves will seem impossible for your gimbal. And that's how you properly balance your gimbal. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.